Hi, this is Pete Ekman with RoboZone Podcast. With me, I have Frank Merrick. Frank, thanks for coming back on.
Thanks so much for having me back on. I loved it last time, and I'm sure it's going to be great again.
So the last time we talked, it was before Thanksgiving. It was actually right around November 11th from my log I see on Skype. And we were talking about the new game. It was a couple months away. Everyone's getting excited. And there are a couple things I want to ask you about the interview because now we're after kickoff. We're 4 weeks in now. We're 3 weeks from this last Wednesday for Bag Day. And we won't approach the Bag Day thing again. I think we covered that in the first one.
Okay, great.
So if anyone wants to listen about that, they can go back to that one. But with the temperatures and everything, I think a little. Well, at least I could talk about locally. Things are a little bit behind because we had a whole week almost off of school.
Sure.
And with the weather, you can't hold a build practice because it's uncouth or not cool trying to bring kids in and negative.
Oh yeah, I mean, we always say we want to make sure that safety is the number one priority, and teams shouldn't be even for teams that aren't school based and maybe they could have a build session. They really should think about, and I'm sure they do, but really put safety first.
Right.
We say it all the time that nothing. I'm not even going to repeat it, but well, yes, I will. So nothing you're doing at first is worth getting hurt over. I say it all the time, every year, and it's for sure. Staying safe is number one.
Now, in relation to that, I got an email from you or your distribution list yesterday that said that the awards for Woody Flowers, and there was another award, the submissions got postponed for a week just to, because we haven't been meeting. So I think first for being cognizant of our restrictions, because it said in the email that they're now a week later, I think. Is that correct?
This doesn't sound right to me.
Okay.
I am really sorry. Did you, could you, I'd like to take a look at that to see what it said. So we haven't postponed anything.
Okay. Well, not postponed. I think they're giving us an extra week to put the submissions in. Maybe.
Something sounds.
I'm going to look it up while we're talking.
Can we look that up, please?
Yes, I will.
So we did have we did do a blog that said. I believe it's Dean's List is due on the 14th.
Okay.
Woody Flowers Award submission is due on Woody Flowers Award, and Chairman's Awards are due on the 7th, but those have always been the dates.
Okay. Oh, so it was it was weird because in the subject line I'm saying it says reminder our weather-related extension policy. But the dates are still the same, so it's my bad.
The dates are the same. Okay, okay.
But,
you scared me for a minute there. What did we do?
I got to keep you on your toes. This makes for a good video too, so I will keep this in. But but the subject line was weird because I'm thinking, I'm sitting in my house because we're frozen in, and I read our weather-related policy, and then I go.
No. I understand. You know what? We'll have to keep an eye on the way we do those headlines. What we try to do is put in the headlines sort of everything that is listed in the blog.
Okay.
And I can understand how it can get, the headline itself could get misconstrued. So if that was supposed to be two elements, reminders and
extreme weather.
Extreme weather.
Gotcha.
Right.
No worries. Process improvement. We love that first.
Right. But we try to remind teams on those deadlines because it's really important that teams plan to be really the best thing to do is plan to be early for those because we don't want anyone being late. And we understand we have to have a set time when those awards are due, and it can get confusing. You talk about Eastern time, so we try to make sure teams are aware exactly when those submissions are due.
So let's that was a really interesting way to start this conversation, this interview, right? But anyways, I like it because it always explores. So let's talk about kickoff. How do you think kickoff went?
We were really pleased with kickoff. Okay. We really changed things up. Both locally and from what was being broadcast. So locally, we haven't done. I don't know if so. You watched kickoff, obviously.
I did.
you saw the curtains pulled back to reveal the field,
Yep.
right, on the broadcast. That is something we haven't done in years. What we used to do, or what we've done most recently, was have the field itself set up down, and we have sort of two spaces that we use in Southern New Hampshire University where we do the kickoff. There's one space where we used to build the field, and the other space was where we would have everybody and show the video, and then we would send everybody downstairs, or to, down there's like a little ramp you go down to see the field itself. But we switched things up a little bit. We wanted to make it sort of, for the folks that were there, and for the folks that were watching, we wanted to make a more sort of dramatic kind of reveal, almost like, really, because it's a new product announcement in a way. I mean, the game is in many ways the sort of the new product that we create.
Right.
FRC stays pretty much the same. First Robotics Competition stays pretty much the same, but the game itself is the new, it's the iPhone X or 11 or whatever it is. Every year they came out with a new model, and that's your new model, even though the kind of the basic operating system is the same. That's one way to think about it. And so we wanted to have that dramatic reveal. We also integrated the field tour videos into the main portion of the show, so that teams could, because we think that those have value, and we've gotten feedback from teams that they have value. And then we did, because we had eliminated local builds. We had eliminated the field builder program this year. We wanted to, teams gave us feedback that one of the advantages of that there was some advantage to being able to kind of do some type of interaction,
right?
With
touch it,
that kind of stuff, which we understand. And because we made that change, we also made the change that folks in teams in Manchester were not going to be allowed to go on the field, because we thought that there were some fairness concerns there, and that had been raised to us as well. And we had gotten some feedback that it was helpful for teams to be able to go on the field, because they could take additional video and photos and that kind of thing to be able to supplement what what we were already producing. And so we took a different tack there. First, we took a lot of photos of the field. We created this full VR experience, which teams have access to at many different levels of sort of hardware availability. And then we added this, what we call deeper space, which basically allowed folks on the chat and Twitch to be able to remote control our staff on the field to say, show me this. What does this look like? What does that look like? So kind of still be able to give that little interactive element for folks that were were interested in that. And it seemed to work out. It seemed to work out pretty well. I mean, we'll probably make some changes. I'm sure we do every year. But for all those changes, the game seemed to be well received. I think it felt. At least in Manchester, it felt very exciting. But what did you think? What was your perception?
One, I love the video, the lead up video. I thought it was very well produced. I thought it was funny. I thought it kept people's they're engaged in knowing what the pieces were.
Where we were doing the countdown, and the flight director was checking in with all the various departments. Yeah.
And then Dean came on, and we all know you hit the pause button. Because I love Dean. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes Dean can talk for 5 minutes, and sometimes it can go to the right a little bit. So
sometimes it's unpredictable, and that is the reason why we had that hold in place, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But it was cool. It was cool. And then I did like the Q&A session with people on the field. I love the field videos. I think those are probably the best made field videos you guys have ever done.
Oh, thanks so much. I'll pass that along.
Just my personal opinion, because everyone has an opinion.
Sure.
The one thing that I was at Kettering University, and this is nothing against Kettering, but when you guys eliminated the builder program, and you said eliminated, that mean no longer in the future will it be used, or just this year?
I would never say never.
Okay.
But it is something that was causing some trouble, and this was our solution.
No,
I won't say that we've. You can assume that it's gone unless we say that it's coming back.
Okay,
I guess
perfect.
that's the way when I open it. But nothing is forever in first.
But please say bag time's gone forever. I'm going to hold you to that. I'm going to hold you to that.
I don't see bag day coming back.
Okay, good.
But
But we never know. We never know.
You never know.
Hands
10
off.
years from who knows? I think that we also think that, and obviously I know we talked about this last episode, but lots of pros and cons, both sides on that. We think the pros are better, more impactful than the cons on the elimination of stop build day. But I think it's not coming back, but who knows what's going to happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
It would have helped this last week with the weather because you wouldn't have to worry about that bag day. So
absolutely. And we were getting a lot of requests from teams for extensions and that kind of thing. And now our pretty firm line for the last, at least since I've been director, I think, is that we don't do those kinds of extensions. It is something that, and it is a challenge for some teams, but really every team faces some kind of challenge. Maybe it's not the weather, maybe it's funding, or a key mentor moves away, and this has happened before too, you have to switch build sites right in the middle of a build because the sponsor is no longer able to support. So we look at that as this is part of the I know this phrase is overused, but this is a sort of a real world challenge.
It is. Yep. It is. This is how business runs. So.
It's how business runs. I mean, at first, it's rare, but once in a while, we will have a day where we're shut down as well because the weather is so bad. It's very rare. I think it's happened maybe once in the last 3 years or something like that. But I mean, so that means we're working from home. It doesn't mean we stop working. And
That's
yeah,
true.
there are some things you can't do. But really with communications technology, the way that it is now, you can still make some kind of process. You may not be able to work on your physical robot, but certainly there are some things that you can continue to kind of hone on. And I know it's frustrating, and it's creates a lot of stress, but honestly, first robotics competition is supposed to be hard. I'm going to say that
it's a challenge. It's
supposed to be a challenge.
Who would have thought 5-10 years ago that we'd have this Skype thing where you and me are talking, and you're sitting in your office, and I'm sitting in my office, and we're recording this for a podcast? That was not there. So I mean.
Absolutely. Even if you look at our virtual reality project, the assets that we put out there, those things just wouldn't have existed.
Right.
Even a few years ago, 5 years ago or something, it would not have been what it is or as good, sort of as it is.
I got a good segue there. You said the virtual reality thing. So my critique, my only thing about kickoff is that there weren't enough VR headsets to go onto the field, at least at Kettering, and this is nothing against them. That it's a learning process to be able to see the view or see the field in virtual reality. There was one headset, and there's probably 60 teams there.
Sure.
That's the only limitation where I think we're so used to being able to touch things and go start measuring, and kids bringing laser levels and start doing things,
right,
writing things down, and
that's a good point. So kickoffs are that was sort of building that into kickoff itself was sort of optional for kickoffs. They could either have something there or not have it. It was sort of up to them. I expect to see an evolution on that. For example, like you said, your particular kickoff had one headset. Maybe the kickoff coordinators, they look at that and say, maybe next year I'll ask, especially as the price of these continues to come down, we expect more teams to be able to get them. And maybe kickoff coordinators can send out notes to the teams and say, hey, if you could bring a headset, that you'd be willing to share with other teams at the event, that would be great. And who knows, maybe next year you'll have 10 or 20, or who knows how what direction that's going to go. I do think that can enhance the experience. And what we're hoping is that over the years, as that technology improves and the price continues to drop, it'll become more accessible to kickoffs and sort of to teams in general.
And I think in a couple months the Oculus Voyager's coming out, which is like a $200 price tag.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. See, that's and I know that even and I don't want to minimize this, because for many teams, $200, you may as well say $20,000. Like they're doing all they can to sort of keep it together. But that's a great trend.
Yeah.
And even with the lowest possible, I mean, we included as you know, a Google Cardboard
Yep.
in every kit. And even at the kind of sort of the lowest level, every team can kind of experience the field. It's not the same as being able to move objects around and stuff, but you could, with a Google Cardboard, you can fly around it. You can look at it at different angles, and we're really trying to create that experience for sort of all levels of team affordability.
And man, you're really good with the segue. So I got one right into that, right?
Right.
So Google Cardboard was the one thing that you gave me on our last interview, right? That was the one.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you one breadcrumb, Pete. But you dropped the hammer and said that everyone would be shocked in the kickoff video. Mm-hmm. Now, what is it? The sandstorm? Was that the thing you were talking about?
That was the thing that was in my head.
Okay.
Was that I'm sorry if I built that up and it turned out to be
no. I was surprised. Where I was, everyone went, oh,
right. So that was a because we have been talking for years on game design about how we might change the ability of drivers to see what was going on, mm-hmm. or how would we sort of somehow limit that, or maybe simulate differences in ability to control. And so the engineering team did a terrific job on putting that together, and we think it's going to work well. I'll tell you, we started out with I don't know if you've ever seen electronically dimmable glass.
Yes. Where
you hit the power and it becomes occluded, becomes opaque. That was our plan A, but once we did sort of some environmental testing with that, they said this isn't going to hold up because these fields of course get put on 18-wheel trucks, right, and driven all over the place, and it may be 150 degrees in that trailer or maybe minus 20 degrees in that trailer, and it that type of glass really isn't, from the ones that we were working with, isn't designed to handle that heat. So we just decided plan B is old school and do a shade, and we gotta work through that. But also that it fit well with the theme and the concept of the game itself, that hey, there's a sandstorm, you can't see. You have to drive using your video or hopefully run some autonomous code.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of cool that teams that may have a lower set of resources that's available to them, they can just drive. I mean, the RoboRio has a port. You can put a camera right on that port, and it's very easy to program the driver station to use that. So I think it makes the playing field a little bit evener, if that makes any sense to me.
Yeah, that absolutely. That's a good point. You can still accomplish something just using video.
Right, because all you have to do is go off the platform and you get points.
Right,
I mean,
that's right.
So everyone can get points this year.
Right.
But then you have, and the thing I love about FIRST, one of the things I love about FIRST is that kids are looking, how can we do vision? How we can do driver-assisted auton?
Yeah.
Where the auton screws up, because auton can screw up. We've seen it in the past, and they manually start manipulating their robot to do what they need to do. So it's kind of cool. Yeah. The other thing that I think that was the one big was the HAB3 climb, which is all the rage nowadays.
Yeah.
Right? And everyone's reading the rules, and they have these giant clamps, and they're trying to get up and flip themselves on the top, and or make some type of buddy climb lift system, or
we're hoping it's going to be very exciting. And we did, we try to include in every game sort of a range of task difficulties, so that some are really easy, and a kitbot can really get up to that first level. It's got a ramp on it. Right? So that's not, and it can get off of the second level. You just gun it, right? and so, but we try to include a range of difficulties. Plus, it adds some excitement. When you're in matches and the audience is watching, are they going to make that level 3 climb? Are they going to get 2 up there? That would be super exciting. And so we try to have that range to challenge really all levels of experience with the teams.
So I'm a stickler for the rules, right? I love rules. Rule without rules, we'd have anarchy, and that's just my military background. Being a former cop, it's just kind of the way I am.
Yeah.
I saw and thought that we may see a lot more audience participation during the sandstorm piece than anything of the game, because teams are going to rely on their people sitting in the stands to help them out because they can't see.
Right. What we're hoping is, our thought is that is going to be so tremendously ineffective that they're just going to, it's kind of hard to direct. You've got 15 seconds. And so maybe, that there may be something along those lines that goes on. I have to admit, I am not a rules expert on this game. So I don't know if there was anything about, audience signaling in there, but we had considered that, like, what if that happens? What if teams are able to see the audience display and it includes some video? And from our perspective, we think that it's going to be so much easier and more effective for teams to put a camera on their robot that they're probably just going to want to do that rather than rely on, kind of fuzzy signals from the audience. Right. But that's kind of our thinking on that. But yeah, we recognize we're not putting the drivers in a sort of a soundproof, light-proof booth. They're still going to be folks around that can shout at them. Yeah. So
I have a couple things about. We've seen some videos where guys are just like Dukes of Hazarding their robots back onto the habs at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys putting extra strength into the part for the sandstorm, the shade? Are you guys reinforcing those things at the top so that they don't come off? Because I saw one the other day. I swear that thing was doing like 10 miles an hour and hit
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
We'll have to. It's something where we feel like we're going to be okay there, but it is something that we'll be monitoring. We did, I think we did not want teams to be banging on the glass and MCs
that was
to be
a big
banging
one
on
this
the
one
glass.
there.
That was a change. We're going to have to see. Everything. There's only so much testing that we haven't seen that in our testing, but there's only so much testing that we can do compared to 3,805 or whatever our count is up to today.
Yeah.
3,805 teams. But certainly, if an issue arises, then we'll be reacting to that.
Well, I noticed one thing about the video was that it told you about the Velcro. I'm sorry, hook and loop.
You're right, hook and loop.
Yeah, hook and loop, so I don't get sued.
Yeah.
But on the driver's station, my piece of advice for everyone out there, special rookie teams, make sure you have some of the whatever the opposite is on the bottom of your driver's station, because if those things hit that wall, you can see those driver stations, flying.
It's great advice. Yeah, that is great advice, and very important this year because, like you said, certainly the robots are going to be going as fast as they can to get into that position. And great advice every year, really,
right.
to because many years there's the robots are going to be banging pretty hard into those end walls, and the last thing you want is that your driver station flying off.
Right. I don't know if you know this term, but we're the mentors that are around that we have teams. We call a thing cheesecake. Cheesecake in the past. Cheesecake's something that you can add to your robot where it gives you an instantaneous amount of points.
Oh, yeah.
Years past, it was the climbing mechanisms. You strap one right onto it, and
sure,
you hook up a motor. I think this year's cheesecake is that you can hook the camera to the RoboReel for younger teams that don't have any idea what that is yet. It's very easy to manipulate and code, and it automatically gives you 3 or 6 points depending on where you come off.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. That's a great. Yeah, we're very familiar with the term cheesecake. It's a topic of discussion pretty regularly.
So last week I had Andy Baker from AndyMark, who's a huge sponsor to you and me for the podcast.
Yeah, great.
And I threw some really good curveballs at him. One of them was with bag time going away with 2020. How is that going to affect your business? Because I'm a business guy. I like thinking about how things, manipulate business. and he said he thinks that initially orders will go down because you're not building 2 robots. And I told him that no matter what, I'm going to build 2 robots anyways because it's not going to beat up my comp bot when I can build a practice bot to start testing things with.
Yeah.
So what other ways do you think a lot's going to change with 2020 in that huge change, or do you think it's just we're just going to have more time to build and then the stress level come down?
It's a terrific question, and it's so hard to say. I think some teams. What we're hoping for is that teams take this year to sort of analyze, to think about what their goals are as a team, all of their goals as a team, and then think about, okay, next year we're not going to have a stop build day. How do we still reach our goals with hopefully causing less stress than the team is under right now, and maybe even being able to achieve our goals better? But that is sort of, honestly, it's sort of a lot to ask if teams have been, sort of very successful under the way that they have been doing things. They may just decide to kind of continue doing things the same old way and just have more time, more weeks to complete those things. I do think that human nature being what it is, we'll see a lot of teams that have the same sort of level of frenetic activity on the day before competition that they do on stop build day, right? So because they'll have maybe not spread out the work as they could have, and maybe the early weeks in the build season will be a little slower paced for them, and then it'll ramp up to the same sort of level of activities that they had just before stop build day. But it's so hard to predict. I think it's going to be my sense is that it is overall it's going to be good for FIRST Robotics competition. That is my fundamental. I believe that in my heart. I think, and what we're hoping is that most teams see an advantage there, especially our lower resource teams that maybe haven't had they simply can't build a second robot, and they'll have that extra time now that the higher resource teams do to kind of work on their designs or perfect them, or even just basically getting in drive practice, because you know how important that is. Just being able to drive your robot is kind of a big deal. I mean, the team that I was part of, 131 Chaos in Manchester here, was a very low resource team, and there was no second robot. I mean, we got the robot finished just about in time to, back in those days, ship it away. That was pre bag time, and we would have loved to have a week of driving with a finished robot. My goodness, so how much would that have improved our kind of performance on the field? So very hard to. I think it's going to be an improvement, and I hope folks take the time this season to think through their goals and how they might still implement those goals, maybe even do better on their goals with lower stress in 2020.
I got one more question for you, and I'll let you go.
Okay.
So I remember talking to Don Bosey last year, and he said that the last year's game and this year's game were kind of developed at the same time. Is that true? And if it is, what I noticed that the HAB level 1 is very similar, or if not the same, or it's changed by distance or the height of it, but it was the same pedestal that we had to get up on last year.
The games are designed not in how do I put this? The games are developed simultaneously, but each game is not at the same point. Okay. So they're not. It's not like we designed two and both games started at the same time and both games ended at the same time. But they're. So I don't want to use the term parallel because that kind of suggests that they're both at the same position. But it's staggered. Okay. So like right now we're working very hard on the 2020 game.
Oh yeah. What's that all about?
Oh well, it's a game that's going to come out in 2020.
I was just fishing. I was trying.
And so. I mean, you may be seeing some similarities there. No, I don't know the details of how the mechanical team came up with that particular design, but part of it is just practical. Like we want the ramps to be not so steep that a kit bot can't get up them.
Right.
Well, that means you've got a certain angle that you kind of are limited to, depending on the length of the ramp and so forth. And so that's more of a practical matter. So I don't know that there was intentionality in making the ramps in 2020 similar to the ramps in 2019. It may have just been, we've got this design, or it's just more of expediency and making sure that it met the objectives, which would mean, of course, that a ramp bot a kit bot can get up without high centering.
So based upon the numbers that you said earlier in this conversation, I think you said there's like 3,800, just over active teams, right? So right. I remember last year vaguely that it was around 3,200.
It was 3,660 last year.
So we've gained just over 200 rookie teams.
More than that rookies, just because, of course, we have attrition.
Okay.
And I think our retention rate this year is like 92% or 93%. I'm not sure that exact number, but something in that range. And so I think we were up to what did I say? I even said it during kickoff. Was it 300, like 360 or 380 rookies? Something in that range.
Which has gone slightly down because I remember because I was a rookie last year. There was over 600 rookies.
So, yeah, it was over 500 or something. It was
right around
high.
6. Yeah, it was up
something. There. We had a banner year last year. That's for sure.
So, are you guys happy with that amount of rookies, or are we trying to? I know Dean's always pushing. He wants every high school to have one, and I'm the same way. Yeah, I think if you have a football team in your school, you should have a robotics team in your school. But that's my opinion.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so, I would agree with that. We would have liked more. I mean, we missed on our overall team count.
Okay.
And we are taking a look to see because we had, as I said, the year before, 2018, we had a banner year. We had record high retention and this huge number of rookies, and then it took a dip down. I mean, I guess you probably can't have a banner year every year, but we are trying to understand because really fundamentally we're trying to reach. We're trying to maintain the quality of the program and the impact of the program while reaching as many students as we can. We will not be satisfied. First robotics competition is not going to say, okay, we've got enough teams. It's never going to. That one I say for sure is never going to happen.
Right, because you always need more kids in the program. There's kids going off to college. You could start rookie teams and.
Absolutely, our penetration in high schools and is just not where we want it to be. We'd love to have every high school student have access to this program, and we're very, very far away from that. So we would have liked more. So I will say we weren't happy. We want to do better next year than we did this year.
Okay, I keep saying I have one last question. I have one last comment. I think this year's game, will be easily understood by anyone watching it. I think this is going to be an easier game to understand from an audience perspective than last year, because there is a maximum point. I think it's 159. I think you can only get 159 points for an alliance if everything was perfect. I'm sure if I'm wrong, I'm going to get an email because we have very strong mentors that will say, Pete, you're wrong. It's 162, and then Chief Delphi will get light on fire and discussion.
I know that there's a maximum. I don't know what it is, but I know that yes, you are score limited, right?
Yep, but I think the scores are going to be closer this year than they were last year. I mean, last year with the scale, if you took the scale, they were blowouts.
With the scale, yeah, that's for sure, and that was the sort of one of the downsides on the scale situation. It was an interesting. Game mechanic to kind of count by time, and only one alliance can be earning points at a time on that element. But it did, and that was one of our concerns, of course, going into that as well, that there would be blowout matches, and we did see some.
Right.
But I think for this year is going to be interesting, and I do think it's fundamentally more to a casual spectator. I do think it's more understandable. They're trying to put cargo in the rockets or in the cargo ship by time zero. Whoever's got the most cargo and it gets back to their hab, they win the match. Okay, that fundamental level, that's what it is, and it just kind of makes sense. Okay, they're trying to load up cargo before the next sandstorm comes in or whatever. Yeah.
So I'm going to let you go, Frank. Is there anything else that you want to put out there for all of us mentors, everyone for watching or listening to RoboZone, or anyone associated with FRC? Is there anything else that you'd like to promote?
I just want to reiterate. I'm going to go back to for many teams out there. I know right now the weather is tough. I just say stick with it. Everyone is going to have a great season. We have difficult weather every single season, and teams always do great. Just keep plowing away at it. Can I say that?
Yeah, that's a good. I love it. That was a good one.
But most of all, seriously, stay safe. If you're not sure if you should be on the road, you shouldn't be on the road. I guess that's my thinking. If there's a question in your mind, stay off the road. Do some work from home. Use those digital tools that we have right now, and I think it's going to be a great season. I can't wait to get to those first matches. And
hopefully we're getting this out of the way now so we don't have to deal with any of this when it comes to competition season.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Oh, man. We never want to cancel an event. For sure.
Well, Frank, I want to thank you on behalf of, all the mentors, all the students that I know, everyone out there in FRC. Thanks for what you and your team does for us. We know it's not easy. It's always we want this, and you guys provide as much as you can, and it's a really rough position to be in, but thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you for everything. Thank you and every other mentor and volunteer and all the students out there. The number of hours that you all put in, we know, we get it. Many of us have been mentors in the past,
right.
And we know that mentorship is like having another job. Really, honestly,
it is.
We get it. But for all the things you're doing for the students and all the students that are kind of sticking with us over the years, we can't thank you enough.